Hello guys, what is going on? My name is ChrissyBat as always, and just before we get into the video, I'm going to say that this is a very old gameplay. It's probably really bad. I don't even know what the score is. I think I go negative. And this was filmed about a month ago. I've gotten tons better at TF2. Perhaps I've just found cheaper weapons, but I don't know. It's a gameplay from a long time ago, so don't hate, appreciate. And if you would leave a like and a comment on this video, because I did work somewhat hard to post this for you guys. And I would be very appreciative if you just go ahead and drop a like. But other than that, let's get on to the video. Now, judging by the title of this video, it is about 9/11 conspiracy theories. Now, I'm going to go through one or two of them, but not all of them at hand. I might even make a second part to this video if I think it deserves it. But as you can see on the screen right now, there is a graph. Now, I know the yellow is partly hard to see, and I can't really do anything to get a better graph, but yellow represents structural steel. Now, that is indeed what was used during the construction of the Twin Towers, or really whatever you want to call them, World Trade Centers, whatever you want to call them. Structural steel actually increases its strength at a roughly 400 to 600 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, that's actually not that much if you think about it, because Celsius is way lower than Fahrenheit. It's not exactly, this is nowhere near exact, but roughly half of a Fahrenheit. No, 1 Fahrenheit is about half a Celsius, roughly. That's, I think it's like 1.7 or 2.3 or something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but roughly. Now, the temperature at what jet fuel burns is roughly 500 Celsius. Now, some people are saying it's outrageous at 2,500 degrees, 1,500, 1,000. No, I mean there's scientific stuff. I might even link down some web pages in the description, and that will further prove that jet fuel does not burn that hot. Jet fuel, in case you don't know, is basically essentially a highly refined kerosene. It's purified, not purified like water. It sounds like you're drinking it, but it is very purified. It's actually less flammable than our modern day gasoline that you would use to put in your motorcycles, your cars, your lawnmowers. You know, it's way less flammable than any type of fuel or petrol wherever you are from that we would use today. Alright, so that alone isn't enough to convince you that the World Trade Centers was kind of a part of an inside job. Now, I'm not saying any political parties or, well, not even parties, any political figures were behind this Bush. None of that. I don't believe any of that. I just believe that it wasn't purely the planes that brought down 9/11. I mean, I'm sure it was all terrorism, but I don't believe that it was purely the planes, and I feel that, you know, maybe some people. Now, yes, evidence is not evidence until you feel it, you hold it, and you prove it. You are the one that determines if it is truly evident. Now, there have been reports of people hearing multiple explosions before even the planes hit into the towers. Now, once again, that's not evidence really that it happened. That's people saying things. You can pay them, and they'll never speak of it again. You know. So anybody can lie, right? It's very easy to do. But I'm saying if they're not lying, it's completely possible. I mean, there were traces of thermite. They're saying that, you know, they heard multiple explosions. Thermite is it can burn much hotter than jet fuel. It can burn much hotter than most fuels. I mean, this jet fuel, this JP5, this AV gas, I'm not exactly sure what they were used in these jets when they hit the Twin Towers, but I do know that thermite can burn much hotter and is capable of, even if it's not melting steel, it can at least it can weaken it. Now, I'm not sure exactly what temperature. I believe it was like 1200 or 1000 Celsius. If structural steel hits that mark, then it will start to lose about half of its strength. Now, I'd like to know an in-between there, and people are saying that, once again, there's scientific stuff out on the internet, people doing all the math. I don't remember the math off the top of my head, but even if all the gas was contained in one floor, which is impossible, right? It has to flow somewhere. I mean, obviously the planes made a little hole, at least in the towers. You know, fuel has to flow out. Fuel just doesn't pool up like as if there's an imaginary wall there. No, there wasn't a wall. There was some type of leakage. You know, there was no imaginary seal. Fuel had to have leaked out of the tower at one point, you know. And even if all those 10,000 pounds of fuel, or 10,000 gallons rather, was contained into one floor of that twin tower building, and it was all lit at one time, it's scientifically proven that it can't. The most it could heat up to is roughly 500 degrees Celsius. Now, that was a long spiel and rant that probably could have been shorter, but I mean, 500 degrees Celsius is not a lot when we're talking about steel that loses half of its strength at roughly around 1,000 degrees Celsius. I mean, this is strong steel. This steel is reinforced multiple times, and there's multiple pillars of this. Coming up soon in some more pictures, I'm going to show some pictures of the actual structure and how it was created. And you guys tell me if you think a plane can still pass through this. So judging by this next picture, we can see that there's an inner steel core, and that is designed specifically to support the vertical weight of the Twin Towers. And as you can see, there is a lot of steel. I mean, the steel is placed 1 meter apart, which is 1 meter or 3 feet roughly, in American terms. I am from America, after all, and that's pretty close if you think about it. And there's glass in between that, and it's fully acceptable to hear that the glass all shattered throughout the entire building, because I mean, when something makes that big of a ruckus, right, or a vibration, the glass is going to break. That's probably acceptable, but the tower shouldn't have came down simply. Now, even if the plane, I mean, keep in mind, this is a huge mass. It has 10,000 gallons of fuel on board, maybe more, maybe less. It's still a lot. A plane weighs a lot, right? It's huge. It's multiple stories tall. It's a lot. It's very wide, and so judging by that picture again, that inner core was designed to support the whole Twin Towers. Not the whole Twin Towers, the whole weight of the one Twin Tower, rather. And the outside was also designed to that, but perhaps for any external force that were to come. Now, obviously, they didn't design this in mind, but if it were to arise, they had this covered. Now, what many people may not know is that the Twin Towers were designed to withstand multiple attacks from multiple 707 jets. Now, judging in these next two pictures, I know the pictures are slightly distorted, but let's just live with it. So, the jets, they are slightly different, but they're kind of the same in dimensions. This is all from Wikipedia, which actually is an okay and somewhat credible source. But the Boeing 767, which was believed to be used in the attack of 9/11, was 159 feet 2 inches by 61 feet 1 inch for the wingspan, and the Boeing 707, which was supposed to be unable to fly into the Twin Towers and cause severe damage, or structurally at least, was 144 feet wide, and I was unable to find the wingspan of the 707, as the 707 was not a particularly popular quote-unquote plane. But that just goes to show you that the planes, if you think about it, were not really that different from each other. And I mean, take a look at the picture. Just rewind the video once again, or actually I'll put it in right here, and just look at the kind of structure that the Twin Towers were made out of. And keep in mind, all this steel was reinforced, rebar. We're talking solid all the way through. You know, this is hardened steel. It's made to resist these types of fires. Now, I was talking to my mom about this, and she was talking, you know, there are so many chemicals, you know, used for these printers. There's just so many chemicals in these buildings. And, you know, she has a good point. You know, I've never personally seen, you know, poisonous printer chemicals, but I do know that they exist, and those things might very well be able to burn hot enough to melt some steel. But there is steel all the way around that building and in the center, and it's just, I realize that a plane is a big mass, and there are sides to both of these stories, or there are stories to both of these sides, and you know, anything can happen. But as it stands now, that's a pretty well constructed building, if you ask me. I mean, it's made out of steel, concrete, rebar, has an inner steel core. You know, it boggles my mind that terrorists would even do this, and it is sad. People are saying, the more you study this, the more you believe that it actually was more of an inside job, and I do believe that something to do with thermite might have very well. That was a fail, by the way. Something to do with thermite might have actually brought down the Twin Towers, and there are traces of thermite, right? And that very well may be the case. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking it is, because thermite, once again, it burns very hot, much hotter than jet fuel. And I mean, there are many plausible cases that could have brought down these towers, but there's no definitive answer, and I'm pretty sure everyone wishes they just knew the right answer. So, yeah. That has been it for this video, guys. If you want a part 2, then please leave a like and comment saying that you want one. This is just my take. I might get more in depth if I do a part 2. Who knows? I'll probably do even more research. But as always, be safe. Even if you're not driving, be safe anyways, because I wouldn't want to lose another one of you guys. Anyways, guys, I love you all. Goodbye.